Hi, welcome back to the Meeting of Minds podcast. Really great to have you here with us today. And I have a guest for you, and an old friend of the podcast who has been here from the beginning and has been a guest quite a few times now, but not since January 2022. That was episode 48, where she came on to tell us all about creativity and how creativity is for everyone. So it brings me great joy to welcome Luisa back to the podcast. Hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm back.
You are back. Thank you so much for coming back and doing another episode. It's really lovely to be talking to you. How have you been? How have you been since January?
Good, I think.
Yeah, well, we're recording this at the end of October, so, you know, quite a few months have passed.
Yeah, lots of months have passed, Philippa.
They have. Where has the year gone?
I think I'm feeling good. But yeah, I guess missing my spot on your lovely podcast.
Well, and here we are making that good then.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about my current favourite subject, which is joy. So I hope that's not putting the, I was going to say the fear of God, but I try not to mention God, and I've just gone and done it twice. I don't want this to be a really heavy or hard work for you, because actually sometimes I think sometimes we find it hard to see the joy, and that's kind of the point, really. And you know, what does joy mean to you?
Good question. Joy. I think I'm quite a joyous person, that I kind of move through life in that way.
I would say so. That's why I thought you were a good person to come and talk about this. I would say that you are joyful.
Yeah, what does it mean to me, though? That's kind of hard to articulate. I think I find joy in lots of little things. It's like little things that bring me joy in everyday life, I guess. And joy, I don't know, I can't articulate it, but I know things that bring me joy. I feel it kind of come over me when it does happen.
Can I ask you what that feels like then, if that's not too
I'm trying to
probing a question? Where do you think, do you have it? Because if you're not feeling it now, it's quite hard to sort of remember, isn't it? But where do you think you feel it in your body?
All over.
Okay.
It kind of just I don't know, I just feel like a real sense of happiness, excitement, something that kind of gives me a sparkle in my eye. That's when I know I'm feeling joyful. Or if I kind of
oh yeah, I recognize that.
That's joy for me. Or just like that kind of unexpected feeling of excitement and happiness. That's joy to me.
Okay. Love it.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to put it into words.
Well, it is, because you're actually sort of very well demonstrating the point in it. Not that I had an absolute point, but that sometimes we don't. I think it's quite easy for us not to recognize it, and for us not to be able to see that is what we are, or see or feel that is what we are experiencing, if we don't have either the awareness of what joy actually feels like to us, and also if we don't have time to just stop in that moment, momentarily. I mean, I'm not talking, stop for half an hour, but, if we don't have that space in our life or that time to actually be able to be present in that moment of joy. Do you think?
I agree. Because it's those moments that bring me joy when I'm not too stressed or I'm not rushing things, when I am really present, like going out on a walk, and there's small things like seeing flowers that make me happy. That's joy to me.
Yeah.
And being in that moment, or I don't know, seeing the ducks on the harbour side doing their thing, just kind of unexpected things that happen that really put me in that present moment, and I feel that kind of excitement in the moment. That's how I know when I'm present and feeling joy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. If I'm too busy, if I'm stressed, I don't, you completely miss it. Those little things just, yeah, pass you by. So definitely being aware in the moment, I think.
Well, it sounds like I've prepped you, but I haven't, have I? You know, I mean, I did tell you what I wanted to talk about, but so episode 81, which was about freedom and joy, I talked about that being available in the moment, and if we're not, we will miss these things. And it's not, I'm not trying to tell people that they need to slow down, because actually when we're really busy and we're stressed, the last thing we need to hear is slow down. But one of the, if we can just find I'm trying to not use the word slow, but why don't I use it? Because that is the word I'm trying to use, a slower pace, even if just a little bit, it just creates a little bit of space for maybe those moments to be, us to be more present in those moments, that we might just recognize that joyous feeling and experience that joy. Because, you know, joy is fleeting like all other emotions. And you know, it really is, as you've just really well described, about being in the moment, so you can experience that before it goes. And if we can be in the moment when we experience it, we don't have to worry about it going, because we know that we'll be able to receive the next one that comes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I guess learning to create space to feel that joy. I don't think that, yes, if you're having a really stressful day, you will miss those small things. But actually, I think I'm learning that those are the days where you should put more effort in to create that space to find. You don't even have to find joy. It's there. It kind of, it comes to you. But it's, I think that's the human side of it, is creating that space for it to allow it to come through. And you know, if you've had a really stressful day at work, those joyful moments kind of feel a lot stronger, and they mean a lot more in that moment, because you know that it's such an opposite feeling to feeling stressed all day, and you know, being in your head or being stuck to a screen working. I personally, I go out and I appreciate those moments so much more, and that helps kind of take my mind off of the stress that did occur during the day. So I think we can make we can make an effort to let joy come to us, rather than just waiting for it to happen, I guess.
Yeah, so being intentional. And do you, and I think that intention is really interesting, because I think um, unless we are intentional, so unless we give joy a priority and be intentional with our, either, you know, having a sort of day where we are going to notice those moments, or if we are head down stuck in something, making sure that either at the end of the day, or you know, the day after, or whatever, we make sure we have that space to sort of bring us back into that place of experiencing joy. If we're not doing those, you know, if we're not allowing that to happen for ourselves and prioritizing joy, I think it's quite easy to just plod on and plow on, head down, feeling like, I mean, and then I say this because this is exactly what I used to do, plow on and think I'm getting all these things done. I'll have joy somewhere else down the line. Even if, and I'm not even sure that I'll have joy somewhere down the line even came into it. It's just like, I'll just plow on and I'll just keep my head down because this is what I should, in quotes, do, without really giving any thought to what my experience of life was, and how, for me, a lot of the time it was pretty joyless. So just going back to what you said, it's about having that intention.
Yeah, I don't. So when we started, I said I do move through life trying to be very joyful. But I wasn't always this way. I think I've kind of taught myself to, what's that saying? You need to stop and smell the roses. So I don't think I used to do that. I was kind of cup half empty. If bad things would happen, it's, and we all do this sometimes, but feeling like the world is against you and nothing's going right for me, and all of those kinds of things. And I hit a point in life where I realized that I had to turn my mindset around, and because joy is around you all the time. It is just whether you are aware enough to accept it and receive it. And I think that takes work. I think there's nothing wrong with seeking out emotions and feelings like that. I think sometimes in the past, I know that I could live with an expectation that actually, people around me, my friends and family are feeling this and having great things happening to them. Why is it not happening to me? And that's not the right mindset, because I think everyone's receiving great things. It's just, are you aware enough in yourself to kind of understand what you're receiving, whether you're even allowing yourself to receive anything? And if you are not in a great place, what can you do to feel better? What can you go out and find joy? Very easily, I'm sure. But it's about making that effort for yourself, I think. But yeah, I wasn't always like, woohoo, I love trees and animals. And, I had to kind of remind myself all the time that those are the things. I think that's actually, I think it's about understanding what brings you joy, knowing what brings you joy, and using that to your advantage. So if you aren't having a great week, what can you do that actually makes you happier? So I told you before we started this, I hadn't hugged a tree in so long. Yesterday I was out on a lovely evening walk, and I don't know what came over me, and I thought, I just want to hug this tree. I just want to feel closer to nature. And it worked. And I felt so good. And I laughed at myself. And I laughed at the thought that maybe people looking out their windows were laughing at me. But you can do things like that to lift yourself. But I do think maybe it is about knowing what those things are. And they're probably ever changing, but maybe having a set few things that bring you joy, that you can kind of practice or go to when you're feeling a little bit low. And then I guess, it's more natural to incorporate that into your daily life. I think it all takes a bit of practice, really.
Oh, I completely agree with you. It doesn't come naturally. And, as ever, your self-awareness never ceases to impress me, because I absolutely did not have anywhere near I had zero awareness when I was your age, and I know you're getting on a bit now, but you're nowhere near as old as me, and I'm only just getting that awareness. So so anybody who's listening who's like thinking, oh God, what on earth are they talking about, or how on earth do I discover this? you know, no matter how old you are, it's never too late. As I always say, it's never too late, and you're never too old. And here we are, you know, Louisa's late 20s, I'm mid 50s, and we're both on this path of discovery, or, you know, certainly recently. So this is perfectly possible if it's something you want. And I think that's key. And just before we there's a couple of things I just wanted to pick up on that you said, if that's okay. And actually, like I just said, and we were talking about intention before, it's about whether you want to. If you want something different, if you want, I mean, that's where I came from. I came from a place of, well, this has all got so awful, life had all got so awful that I had nothing to lose. I needed to be different. So it didn't really matter what it was. I would try anything that was different because everything else had got me to a place I didn't really want to be. And you're coming at it from a slightly, you know, you hadn't hit rock bottom quite like I had. I don't think. I don't want to do whatever you've experienced in, you know, an injustice, but you're coming at it more from being much more aware that you, well, actually tell me where. So what I was really interested in is you saying that you wanted something different. And what I'm really intrigued about, because this never occurred to me when I was younger, is how did you know so how did you know there was something different, a different way to be that could perhaps be more fulfilling to you? Did you have an example? Did you see, is there somebody in your life you could see like that? How did you know?
Um, I think it was born of being in a bad place.
Okay.
So no, I didn't hit rock bottom. I was fairly young, maybe 17, 18, and I had a really terrible breakup, which made me really,
Yes.
really sad for a long time. And something felt weird inside. I at that time, yes, I personally felt like I hit rock
Yeah,
bottom.
so sorry, I didn't. I'm
No,
really,
no,
because actually you've reminded me. I know about this, and I'm sorry, I'd sort of
no.
forgotten. But also, you know, your rock bottom can look very different to mine and still be rock bottom. So you know,
But
sorry.
I am a big believer in, I don't think you just wake up one morning and you want to change your life. I think most people experience something hard in life, that makes you, maybe, for me, I felt very alone. I was a very private person and kind of, I struggled to talk about the things that were going on. I still do, you know, if something happens, I like to kind of figure it out myself before I speak to other people. But I was more so like that when I was younger, and I felt I'd felt sad for at least 6 months, and it kind of takes its toll. You know, everything becomes a bore. Everything feels draining. You I don't know, everything kind of feels like a slump, and I hadn't always been like that. And so that was a real sign to me that something wasn't quite right. I think if it's a relationship going bad, a common thing which happened to me was you feel like you don't know yourself. And you kind of feel like, I think you have to, I felt like I had to create a new me. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't, and because I maybe was on the receiving end of some bad treatment, the one thing that kind of stuck with me from that was I never wanted to make anyone else feel the pain that I felt. And I never wanted to inflict that kind of pain on somebody else. And I think that made me realize that I kind of wanted to look at who I was out in the world and how I kind of move through the world. How do I show up for myself and for others? And I think when you're going through a bad time, people more so kind of try and tell you the things they love about you, the great things about yourself that you don't hear at the time because you think, oh, life is rubbish. And actually, I think we all need to hear that a little bit more, even when we're not having tough times, because you don't really know how others perceive you. But yeah, that situation really made me look at myself. And because I didn't know who I was at all anymore, and this wasn't very easy, I think it took many attempts to happen, but I kind of had to say to myself, well, you don't know who you are, so be who you want to be. Create who you want to be.
Be who you want to be. I love that.
I mean, and sometimes, we see these scenarios in life as detrimental, and life's never going to be the same, and am I ever going to be happy again? But I've now learned that those things in life are actually kind of very precious, and sometimes life forces you into changing and changing the way you are and looking at yourself from an outside perspective. And actually, I'm grateful. I would never change what happened, because I genuinely was not the person I am today that any of my friends know me as now, or my family. I wasn't that person before. I was quite selfish. I was so materialistic. I was young. I was only 17. It's to be expected. But yeah, I was given an opportunity to look at myself. And, did I want to be like the person that had hurt me? No. And that was a great place to start. So if I don't want to be like that person, who do I want to be? And I ran with it. It was really hard. I shut myself off from the world for those 6 months. And work takes time. I didn't realize from that point, even when I started trying to build the person that I am today, I didn't realize that was what was happening. I was reading self-help books. I was trying to make myself feel sane and not miserable 24/7. And, it wasn't maybe until a year or 2 years had passed where I kind of got that moment of like, whoa, I've done the work. I feel happy. I'm happy with who I am. I'd hear passing comments about, maybe what other friends had said to some of my other friends about me. And it's those things that you kind of hear and you think, whoa, I did that work to make those people think that I'm this kind, or I'm, all of the nice things people said. But it takes time. And going back to what you said, you have to want it. I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be known as a good person, a friendly person, a loving person. And I guess, maybe I just sat with myself long enough and asked myself, who do you want to be? And then from there, I mean, every day is a journey. You never reach there is no end destination, is there? Like you said, there's, it's never too late. Because there's never a right time to start. Like, life is a journey. I think that's what I learned from those hard times, is life is a journey. Bad things are going to happen. Reframe those bad moments and do what you want with them. Kind of take what you want from those situations. And it's all about wanting something for yourself enough, I think, and kind of going with it. And I don't think that I go through spurts of kind of wanting to work on like self-development and stuff like that. And life gets in the way, and things happen. But I think I'm also quite lucky. Self-development is something I love. I can't think of anything better. I used to wish that was kind of, I don't know, something you could learn at uni, like go and do a course all about self-development.
Oh God, if only.
But I love it. But I know a lot of people that don't like to sit with themselves and don't like quietness and don't like time to ask themselves questions, because yeah, it's not always fun. Sometimes the answers you have for yourself aren't really what you want to hear, but that's kind of where the work has to start. So I think I've gone way off topic here.
No, you haven't gone off topic at all, and so much good stuff in there. Thank you for sharing all that. And you make some very good points that, this work, personal development work. And it's funny because I just realized the date, it's probably nearly November the 5th. Didn't we first know each other on November the 5th? So it's 3 years, isn't it? And 3, is that right?
I don't know, it feels like a lot longer.
It does feel like a lot longer, but we were both in the throes of our personal development when we met, and that's what we talk about a lot. And because there is no quick fix, and there is no easy way to do it, but that doesn't mean it has to be grueling and hard slog. I mean, I think the work can appear hard at times because we're going through things or sitting with feelings, or not numbing out of feelings like we might have done before. So that can feel hard, and it's mainly hard because it's different. It's a different way of doing things than we have been used to, which is uncomfortable, which we can think of as hard. But actually, and I'm not saying it's not hard, but it's worth it, like you said, and it's very much about personal growth, personal development, and learning more about who we are, how we want to show up in the world, what we want to bring to the world, and all those great things. But and there are layers to it. We've both been through numerous layers already, even in only the time that we've known each other, and that's just what keeps on happening. But it's the intention. Do you want it? Do you want something different? Are you prepared to stick at it? It's not something you can go on a weekend personal development course and then come out and go, right, that's it. I mean, that might have taken you a little, another level deeper. It might have started you off on something. It might have taken you in a different direction. I'm not saying there is no value in that, but you will not come away from a weekend anywhere and think, right, that's it, I'm done. Personal development, I know exactly who I am. Because that identity piece that you talk about comes up a lot during our lives, and when we find ourselves in situations where sort of we hadn't realized how our identity is very much centered around either who we are in our family, or who we are in a relationship, or being part of something at work. And when all of those things, whatever that thing is that you're really identifying with, moves out of your life, then it is a real, well, gosh, I've been working a lot with women at the moment whose children are leaving home. And it's like, okay, so now I'm not this mother with children around her all the time. Who am I? And that, and there are lots of stages of that during our life. So that identity, who am I, comes up a lot. Yeah, and it's just really uncomfortable, isn't it?
But yeah, I think taking those moments by the horns and going, this is an opportunity to change something. And if you hit a point in life where everything feels really hard, and there'll be so many of those moments in life, because we're always changing, and we're always evolving. But I have a habit, I don't know if this is human nature, but I have a habit of kind of sticking to what I know. I'm always wanting something different, wanting more. But then when the change comes, I'm scared of the change. And it's kind of, I guess, learning to be a bit more in flow with your own life, and not beating yourself up for things changing and feeling hard, and when things don't turn out how you thought they might, because they never do. run with it, let it, because it's so true that there are, what's the saying? Like, there are things coming your way, that are better than you could even imagine or even hope for. And it's so true. But I think you have to believe that, and not get stuck in that kind of everything's falling apart. But actually, no, I take that back, because I think it's okay to feel like that when it is falling apart. It's good to acknowledge that. It's good to feel that. And yeah, from my experience, actually, it's sometimes the best thing to hit rock bottom, because you can only go up. You can only recreate from there. And that kind of sometimes feels like a fresh slate, which you don't get often in life. So yeah, I think just learning to change the mindset, or my mindset, and look for those happy moments. Create those moments for yourself.
And you made it, exactly, you made a very good point earlier about being aware of what those moments are for you, because the things that bring you joy are going to be, I mean, there might be some similar ones, but are going to be very different to the moments that bring me joy. And apart from spending time with each other, which brings us both joy, which is like, whoo, double hoorah. But it is being aware of what works for you, because it's absolutely an individual thing. It really is. And and giving ourselves, it's not even just giving ourselves permission, because I wanted to say, giving ourselves permission to look for that joy and find that joy and prioritize that joy. But it's more, it's almost deeper than the permission. For me, it's like that fundamental understanding that we need joy in our lives. A joyless life, to me, is not a life. I remember I was recording a podcast. I was a guest on somebody's podcast the other day, and the lady said to me, "Do you remember the moment when you realized?" She either said, "Do you remember the moment when joy came into your life?" Or it was something along those lines. Or when you knew that joy was so important. So the question was something like that. And I do, absolutely. I remember reading Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, and I think it's in his book, but I read so many books at one time, I can't remember what's in which book. But I remember reading that, the point of us being here, the reason for us to be here, is to have joy, is to have a joyful life. And I read that, and something inside me just went, yes, and it was like, so it's not even giving myself permission. It's knowing that fundamentally that is what I am here for. I am here to have joy. We're all here to have joy. And we really need to seek those moments out, to know more about ourselves, know what brings us joy, and to find those times to have that joy. Because, like you said, those little moments of joy every day, being present to them and noticing them and sort of drinking them in while they are there, are what makes life.
Yeah, definitely. It's easy, isn't it, to kind of, I have an example. So when I'm working from home and I'm on my own mainly, my partner doesn't work from home that often, and when he does, it's usually on a day that I'm not working from home. And this week, he was at home maybe 1 or 2 days whilst I was also at home but working. And it was a real eye-opener, to kind of how I work and spend my time when I'm working from home, compared to when I have someone that I love around that prioritizes his joy. So Jay looks after himself. If Jay wants to do something, he's doing it. If he every day he goes to the gym, he does his exercise, he has his protein shake, he has non-negotiables, which I used to have. And somewhere along the line, I've kind of let that go. And it was something as simple as he made me a smoothie 2 days in a row. And it kind of opened my eyes to, oh my God, Louisa, like, you look at the way you used to live life. I used to prioritize things like that. I used to have non-negotiables in my day. And where I've let that slip, I notice on those days, I feel far more sluggish. I feel far more burnt out by life, and less excited because I'm in my own head. I'm at the screen. I might quickly run and make a coffee rather than making a whole thing about it. You know me, I love a hot drink. Like, that is my go-to ritual. But over the past few months, I don't treat it as a ritual. I treat it as I need to grab a quick coffee before this next meeting. And yeah, just being at home with Jay this week and seeing the things he prioritizes and actually how different my day feels when I've gone the extra mile to do something nice for myself. You know, and I think working from home is a great example for the world at the moment, because it's a change. And yes, like, it was a great change for me, but it comes with its downside. And you kind of, I give up a lot when I'm working from home because I don't know, actually. I don't have the answer why, but I realized that, you know, even in just that this week, I've realized how bad that is. I have not been making time to do things that make me feel joy during the day. And that then robs energy and happiness from my evening.
Yeah.
And then I've been starting to kind of, I live like that. And then I wait for the evening to find something that makes me feel joy. And it shouldn't be like that, you know, and I know it's hard to find balance. Clearly, I haven't found it, but it's about, and going back to awareness, it's about being aware. Sometimes, you know, Jay being home, making me that smoothie this week, that was the thing I needed to go, oh, hold on, something's not quite right here. And I've kind of moved so far away from the life I wanted to live and I built for myself before. But instead of letting that make me feel sad, or disappointed in myself, use it as a wake-up call. You know, what's not quite right? Why have I stopped doing that? Am I benefiting from doing that? No, of course I'm not. And actually, by stopping for 10 minutes and making time to do that thing that brings me joy, and joy can be such a small thing, just something that just makes you smile in the moment. You're not smiling for hours, but it just brings that feeling. It really changes your everyday. It changes your evening. It changes your outlook for the week. But you know, and so for someone that loves self-development and all of this kind of stuff, I still struggle. And it's constantly having to remind yourself, because I think we all fall off the wagon, especially when we become really busy in life, or you have lots of changes in life. It's easy to kind of go, oh, well, that makes me really happy, but that's not important right now. But it's so important. And your own happiness is more important than anything else. You know, yes, you can be successful. Yes, you want to do your best at work because you want to climb the ladder, or you want to reach that point where you have enough money coming in. But if you're not happy and you don't have joyful moments during your day, all of that success and money, and it just doesn't mean anything because you're miserable. So yeah, it was a big example.
Yeah, it was a great example though.
But I think it's kind of using those moments where you realize something's not quite right, and then sit with yourself. Give yourself 5-10 minutes. That's not a lot of time out of your day to sit with yourself. You know, if you had a friend that was feeling a little bit sad or a little bit fed up with life, you wouldn't, you know, 5-10 minutes isn't much at all. But we don't give ourselves that time back. We don't make time for ourselves like that. And yeah, I really think we need to,
Yeah, well, I don't think we're not taught to prioritize ourselves, are we? And I don't know about you, but I don't have that example from my parents. be hard because both of them are dead now, but it's very flippant of me, but sorry if anybody's listening and that sounded a bit flippant, but I didn't have that example from them. And I think, and we're not, and society doesn't tell us that. Society is much more invested in us being busy and keeping us busy. And especially as women, we have to look a certain way, be a certain way. We've got to, if we've got a job, we've got to work extra hard to prove ourselves at work. If we've got a family, we're expected to be the main carer. I know not all women are the main carers, but there's still that expectation there. And everything that just having a life and running a home and all those things involves, it is designed to keep us busy in a way, which I think if you keep people busy, then they don't have time to stop and think what they actually want. And maybe if we all stopped a little bit to think about what we want and did a bit more what we want, maybe we'd have a bit of a revolution on our hands, and that would be amazing. But we're
overdue that.
We're definitely overdue that revolution. And I also understand it's totally easy for me to wax lyrical about it because I'm where I am, and I'm not on the side, like I'm not where I used to be. So but it's so great to hear you, and I haven't primed you at all. You are absolutely saying all these things completely because this is what you absolutely feel in your heart. And it's really great for me to hear this coming from you. I love that you're not the only 20-something year who will be feeling like that. And I want, more people to feel like that. I want more people of all ages to feel like that. And I want my kids to grow up in a world where prioritizing themselves is okay. And they think about what they want. And I say that to them now when they're like, I don't know, trying to make a decision. Like my oldest is deciding what to do post 16 when he's done his exams next year. And I'm like, and he's been pulled this way by his teachers and this and that and I'm like, yeah, but what is it that you want? Can you feel in you what you actually want to do? We're not pushing you a certain way. What is it that you want? And it's great that your teachers are encouraging you down these because they would like you to do their subject, but what is it actually that you want to do? And at 16 he doesn't know, but I'm trying to get him to seek the answer in as well as seeking advice from outside. So
yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, no one really ever asked me that question wholeheartedly without a little bit of expectation kind of tagging along. My parents asked me that, but they had their expectations of what they thought was the right path to follow. And I think the fact that we don't get that question asked by many people kind of shows how difficult it is to ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Because we live life kind of living to other people's expectations, time frames, never prioritizing ourselves. There's and there's always kind of a career route to follow. This is what you should do. But when I was growing up, yes, you had to be out the house, married with children at 30. Who made that up? Yeah. Who made that up? But I think society's been living like that for centuries. Only now, I think, are people waking up and starting to say, no, I want to decide. Because when I was younger, I was lucky enough to kind of be born that way. I was a pain in the ass for my parents. I didn't want to do anything I was supposed to do. I didn't want to follow kind of what everyone else would be doing. And I'd always, mum and dad would say to me, yeah, but this would be really good for you. This has worked for so-and-so. And I would say, great, happy for them. But I'm not that person. But as I've gotten older, the more pushback you get from people around you, you lose that fire. I think children have that a lot more. until they hit a certain point in life where you go out into the world and you meet different people and they tell you that you're a dreamer or you're unrealistic, or that's not going to make you money, that doesn't bring security to life. All of those things put a dampener on people that are trying to forge their own path. And yeah, I think it's really important for us to celebrate how different we all are. And if you want to do something differently, do it. It's not going to be easy. Of course it isn't. But actually following the same path that everyone else has followed for centuries, that's not easy either, because it doesn't work. And if you're trying to do something that doesn't feel right and you don't fit in and it doesn't make you happy, that's a hard slog anyway. So what's the point?
You make again another really very good point, that it sometimes it feels like the easy thing to do, to go along with what other people want, but what you're doing is denying what you really want inside, and that becomes harder and harder to sort of push down the feelings that you're not doing really what you want to do. So you know, both ways are hard, so choose you.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up spending the next 10 years unpicking all of that. And it's frustrating. And yeah, I mean, not trying to put anyone off with the frustrating thing, because it's worth the effort. But yeah, choose yourself. Always choose yourself.
Yeah. And that frustration, like all emotions, that frustration is a sign to you that something is a little bit off, maybe, or something's not quite right, or there's something to look at. Any of those emotions, you know, are telling you something, but we don't really, you know, we're much more inclined, you know, what do we think, and what do other people think, and what are other people telling us that we should do or should be important, as opposed to listening to our feelings. Oh gosh, no, don't listen to your feelings. We just bury those feelings and keep them quiet until, for nearly everybody, there comes a time when they're not going to be kept quiet anymore.
Yeah, I try this new thing. So listening to your gut. You're listening to your gut's actually really hard if you haven't done it for a long time. You don't even know what your gut is feeling. But I read this thing, and it was an article that said if you are unsure of how you're feeling or thinking about something, ask yourself the question. So I don't know, do you really want that new sofa? Ask yourself. And if that doesn't make you feel anything, ask someone, ask a loved one who lives with you, get them to ask you that same question. And the more you kind of practice that, asking yourself the question and not responding straight away, but maybe I do this, I go, I don't say words, I make noises. And that's your gut response. Yeah. But we don't wait long enough to hear the response. And we often don't ask ourselves the question. We go, oh, you answer in the way you think you should. And I think if we practice it a little bit more and get that help from people around you, because I think sometimes when you ask yourself the question, you don't always hear the answer either, because it feels a bit strange. If you get someone to ask you and you just pause for a second, and the other person asking you the question, if you can't kind of in the moment feel or hear your gut response, they likely can. And I think ask them, what was my reaction? Did I make a noise?
Or did you see something, and did something happen to my face, or no, you are absolutely right, especially if you ask somebody who's quite good at that, because some people are better at reading those things than others. But it was interesting because you said sofa, because we were talking before we were recording about me wanting a new sofa, and when you said, do you want a new sofa, I definitely had this yes, you know, and I do that quite a lot. I tend to, and actually this brings me where I was going to go. So you know, what little tips and tricks do we use? So that's a really great one about gut reaction. And my gut will tell me a yes is a bit of a like, like, I mean, which sounds awful, but it's like a I don't know, like a bubble, like I don't know, or something in my stomach is normally yes. And often if the answer's a no, it's like a hollow feeling.
Mm.
You know,
Or
I know that's a no.
or silence,
Yes.
I within this article actually they say if you're feeling indifferent or unsure, that's a no for now.
Yes.
Don't move forward going, oh well, I'm unsure, why not? No, until
it's a
your
yes.
gut goes, yeah, that's it, or it feels some excitement or something bubbles up, then it's a no, and that's okay. But I think
Exactly.
you and we all I think we all respond differently. So again, it's about taking the time to understand yourself and your reactions and your mannerisms, because they tell a story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we
I
just don't.
completely agree
Yeah.
with you. And that no might not be a permanent no, but it might just be, like you said, just not yet, a no for now. One
Mhm.
thing that my therapist told me, and that this is really good. So if you know, you're trying to make let's use, I've never done it for this, but let's say I don't know, you want to go away on holiday and you can't decide where to go, and you've narrowed it down to, do we go to Wales or do we go to Scotland, say? You can, you know, write Wales on one piece of paper, write Scotland on another piece of paper, and put them on the floor a little way apart, or you can just put a cushion on the floor, and that can that can represent Scotland maybe, and you can put something, a rug on the floor, and that can represent Wales, as long as you know which one's which. And then stand at one or on it, you know, if it's a piece of paper, stand on it and just think, okay, this is me going to Wales, is this what I want to do? And then stand on the other one and notice the difference in your reaction. You know, and it does seem like a weird thing to do at the beginning, but when you do it, I mean, I actually notice my reaction quite quickly, but but sometimes it might take a little while. But do that a little bit, or what I do is I imagine, okay, if I've said yes, this will happen, and if I've said no, this will happen, and I can get a reaction that way.
I think that's another, like, leads on to another good tip actually. Envision things.
Yeah.
I used to think I was a little bit crazy when I was young because
Well,
I would play things out in my head. I
yeah.
would think about different scenarios and kind of, I don't know, how a conversation might play out. Um, but it's actually magic. It's you can get the feeling and the emotion without it having to play out. Just like the mind is super powerful.
Well, is it the mind, or is it actually what's
Yeah,
going on? I think it's what's going on in our body, actually.
yeah. Well, because yeah, the mind is just chitter chatter, chitter chatter.
It is. The feelings come first, and then the thoughts come from the feelings, but they're not, it's not always the right thought, or the thoughts can be influenced by everything else that's going on. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And but we imagine visualization going on in our heads, which is why I think we talk about it as our mind.
No, I agree. Yeah, good point.
Well, only because, and it's not, I think as a society, we're obsessed with intellect, which is all about mind, which is all about head. And we sort of forget that actually there's a lot of our body underneath our head. And actually, for me, that's where the intelligence is.
Me too. And yeah, actually, since I move through life with my heart first and not my head, I make better decisions. I feel better about certain
Yeah.
things. Yeah, that's so right.
Well,
Mm.
I'd like to say it's my own original idea, but it's not. But I don't, you know, I've read a lot about that, and I now live like that. And I,
Mm.
like you, I feel I make more decisions that are much more aligned with what is right for me, and it's a more, you know, it's what Brené Brown calls a more wholehearted way to live. and it's inside, like it's inside us. So we're carrying all that wisdom and all that decision making ability for us inside us. But if we're not careful, we don't listen to it, and we're too busy listening and looking outside, which is nowhere near as reliable as what is going on inside. So and actually, all this talking about decisions and listening to our gut is all really tied into joy, because it's using those techniques to come up with decisions around what brings us joy. So that's how we've segued off on there. But I think we'll just start coming to an end. But before we do, I just wondered if you could, you talked about doing the work and doing work to tune into yourself, tuning into what brings you joy, tuning into being more of who you want to be. I just wondered if you could share maybe some of, I don't know, 2 or 3 of your, and I'll share 2 or 3 of mine as well. So hopefully we'll have different ones. But you can go first, and then I'll have to think of some different ones of what really helped you, or what still helps you. Because, I know you still do lots of things. What would you say are your top tips?
Spend time alone.
Nice one.
And for me, it's journaling. I think I've spoken on your podcast before.
Oh, yes, I think we have talked about journaling.
That journaling can look like anything. To me, it's just a notebook, a safe space in a notebook that no one else sees. It's not neat. It's not pretty. There's no thought going into it. It's just a dumping ground for your thoughts. But for it to be beneficial for me, it has to be done when I'm alone and there's quietness and I'm just letting my mind run free. And I start. Oh yeah, go on.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, and it's not about reading it back. It's about getting it all out of your head and onto the page, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes I've had moments where, so I've got so many journals, and sometimes when I go back home, back to my mum and dad's house, and maybe I've got nothing to do, and I look through some of these journals randomly, just open a page, and it's kind of crazy. It's crazy to read for yourself how you were feeling in a moment in time, because in that moment, whatever I was writing, that's all I could see. That's all I could think of. And then to kind of years later come back and read it through is really, really interesting. Kind of gives you perspective on the work you've done without even realizing. Because I personally don't realize until months or years have passed, and I go, whoa, I never thought I would be here or thinking this way.
Yeah.
So that's one of mine. Alone time.
I think that's 2 actually. Alone time, and then journaling. And you prefer to journal during your alone time, but you can journal.
Oh yeah.
Sitting in a coffee shop. You can journal on your bus ride. You can journal in the park. And alone time and journaling is really good, but alone time just by itself is really important. Yeah. Thank you.
And then a third one, do something you love. It doesn't have to be something crazy or extravagant. Like, I love food and I love to cook, and actually I didn't realize it for a long, long time, until maybe a couple of years ago, that it brings me some kind of feeling that I can't explain. Like, it takes me out of my head. I'm not thinking. I don't have to have music on. I don't have to be watching anything. And I could be in the kitchen for hours. Like, I like to try crazy recipes. But the feeling of fulfillment afterwards. And when the dish is good and it's really tasty, you can't replace. Yeah, I don't think you can replace that feeling of fulfillment. And I think it's good to chase that, whatever it is. You know, I don't know, going out every night to see the sunset, because it's different every single night. But if it fulfills you and it fills you up with some kind of happy feeling, it's worth doing, and you should do it. You should do something like that every day if you can, but life is busy, so as much as you can. But do something you love, whatever it is, even if it's just a small hobby or reading a book. Who makes time? People don't make time to read books. I'm one of those people, but I get so much from it. It gives me kind of topics of conversation to run through with you, and then we sit and we talk for hours. And but if I didn't make that time to read because I'm too busy, even though I know I love reading and I know I love conversing about what I've learned in books and things like that, you're missing the magic in life, I think. But yeah, do something, make time to do stuff you love every day, every week, and don't push it to the side, because you're more important than anyone else.
Absolutely.
You gotta look after number one first.
And we are responsible for ourselves as well.
No one else is.
Nobody else is responsible for making us happy and us experience joy. It is down to us. So that's our job, so do it. So that's great, thank you. So that was time alone, journaling, and do something you love. Marvelous, thank you. Okay, so no pressure. I was have to think of 3 completely different things now. So I would say, so I'm trying to think of things that have been really good for me. So journaling, absolutely. I don't do so much of it these days, actually, but I know that is a tool that I can go back to. And linked to journaling, I mean, it is writing, but it's not writing in a journal. So if you are I would say release what I've heard other people call release writing, or if you're experiencing a particular difficult situation with somebody and you don't feel that you can sort of raise it with them and work through it with them, but it's really niggling at you, what I find is really good is to write them a letter. You're never going to send this letter, but to write them a letter and write everything, absolutely everything in that letter, no matter how harsh, that you absolutely would like to say to them, or you feel the need to get out of you. It's all about getting the emotions out of you and onto the page. And then when the letter is finished, maybe read it through and just sort of really feel it as you're reading it after you've written it. And then either rip it up into tiny little pieces or burn it. You can just burn it in the sink or something. But there's a little bit of magic that happens when you do that, and it releases some of the emotion. And you might need to do it a few times, or it might just get rid of some of the pressure that you're feeling about it, to allow you to find another way of actually dealing with it. But I found that really useful. So release writing. I think what's also been really useful for me is getting more into my body. So out of my head and into my body, because we spend an awful lot of time thinking things, and we will not think ourselves happy.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
But we won't think ourselves happy. And also, we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. So we know that we are thinking these thoughts. So therefore we are not our thoughts. So it's really important to get out of our head, and into our body. And there are lots of different ways that we can do that. I mean, I was avidly doing yoga for 18 months or so. Not so much at the moment. There's a lot I'm not doing at the moment. And so that's what I've realized in this talk with you, that I've kind of fallen off a lot of my useful practices, actually. So maybe I need to get back to some of them. But the thing about yoga for me is not about yoga for the exercise side of it, or to work really hard, or to keep a pose as long as I can, or to make it as hard as I can. It's about being present in my body and how is my body feeling in every pose. And it's and you know, I was doing the free yoga online with Yoga with Adrian, and she talks a lot about it's not what the pose looks like, it's not about looking like her in a pose, it's about, and she explains to you how it should be feeling. So it's how how do you get that feeling in your body, and how does your body feel with it? And you know, maybe over time you can sense, I definitely sense that I was getting stronger when I was doing yoga, and that was a great side words that was something really good that came out of doing yoga, as well as, more importantly for me, connecting with my body and feeling like, I don't know if this sounds strange, but feeling like my body was mine, and I was in it, and I was doing something good for it, because along with moving your body, it's also the breath. And another thing that has been really good for me is learning how to breathe properly. And you know, I thought, you know, I'd got to age 47 when I first learned about this. I thought, yeah, well, I've got this far, I know how to breathe, great. No, turns out I hadn't sussed breathing at all, because a lot of us, especially those who've experienced a lot of trauma, are actually, and are in a trauma response a lot of the time, will actually be really shallow breathing in our chests, rather than taking deep breaths through our nose and right down into our belly. And that has done so much good for my nervous system. It really has. And it's still my go-to if I'm starting feeling that knot in my stomach and I'm starting to get a bit overwhelmed. You know, a few deep breaths right down into my belly, and like, you know, breathing in for 4 and holding it for 2 and then breathing out for 7 really helps your body, because apparently when we're in fight, flight or freeze, we can't, you know, our body is geared up to breathe quickly, because of course we're about to be chased by a lion. So breathing out for longer than you're breathing in is a signal to your body that it's okay, we are actually safe, we're not about to chase by a lion. So it can start to regulate. So yoga, but I'm going to put breath as the second one, as a separate one, because you can learn to breathe deeper and breathe in a more meaningful way, separate to yoga. But for me, the two kind of came together. So release writing and breathing and yoga. But yoga is only the way that I found to get in touch with my body. There are lots of other ways. Just and breath work, you know, breath work can come from singing. So learning, you know, singing if you like singing, and breathing around the singing. So it's something you love, as well as bringing the breath in. Dancing is moving your body. If the only way, you know, you can sort of feel like you can connect with your body is shaking, I get a lot of energy in my hands, and if I just shake my hands a bit, that will help me dispel sort of like that pent up energy a bit. So whatever it is that helps you get in touch with your body. And for me, the best thing that I'm doing at the moment is cold water swimming. I'm doing some mad 31-day challenge in October. So you've got to take a dip every single day. So I've been going to the lake a lot, because I hate dipping in the tub in my garden. But I don't hate it, but I don't like it as much. And I will not have a cold shower. My shower is for having a lovely warm, it's a lovely warm safe space for me, a shower. It's not a cold space. But I've been going to the lake, and I've probably been out of the last 28 days, so I've got 3 days left of this challenge, I've probably been to the lake at least 20 days. And it's just, I just love it. I get into the lake, it's cold, yes, it's cold, but it makes me breathe properly, to control my breathing so I don't go into a bit of a panic. And there's just something about it. And I turn into a little kid in there. It was really rough today, and my swimming buddy was hating it, and I was like having a great time, because the tide was coming in, it had come over the wall, so it was actually quite rough in the pool, and I was like, but you know, going over the waves and having a great time. So that is something that I love. So you know, and that is now, I mean, maybe it will move on to something else, because we change.
Yeah, and actually, to go back to your point about you noticing there's things that maybe you should take up again. I think that's the magic of getting to know yourself. Is you don't it's not about doing these things every day, because we don't life doesn't work that way, but it is about building your own toolkit and going, oh well, here are the things I've done in the past that I know takes me out of my mind, brings me joy, makes me feel less stressed. You keep adding to that, and you don't beat yourself up when you're like, oh, I did yoga for a year straight and I haven't done it at all this year. That's okay. You used it when you needed it, and it doesn't mean that you can't do it again, and it doesn't mean that you failed because you haven't carried on doing it every day since. But it's about having those things that you can return to when you need them. And that I think that all comes from getting out of your mind and being with yourself.
And it's about listening to your gut that's telling you what you need. Because right now, mine is telling me that, and you know, it's been quite a time pressure going swimming, because it takes a good 2.5 hours out of every day. And I've only been doing it because I've signed up for this daft challenge. But it is about listening to my gut. And my gut is telling me that for me, the time that I have available for me is going to be spent in the water at the moment, not doing yoga. But that's not to say it's not going to change. And I think having a list is a good thing. A list of things that you know work for you, so that actually in a moment of, oh God, in fact, I've just noticed I've got a little post-it here stuck on my windowsill that says yoga. I mean, that might as well go. That is so funny. It's been there so long, I don't even notice it anymore. But you know, if you have a list in those moments of, right, I need to feel better, what can I do that's going to make me feel better? You can go and look at the list and see which your gut actually reacts to. You know, because neither of us have mentioned one thing that we both love doing, which is going out in nature.
Yeah.
You know, hugging a tree, going for a walk in nature, being out in nature, because we are nature. So go and be part of nature, and just be part of something much bigger.
And be silly with it, you know?
Yeah, we're good at that as well.
One thing I love to do is on a sunny day when I haven't been around nature for a long time, I like to just roll down a hill.
Run down a hill or roll down a hill?
Roll. Lay down and roll. And you look like an idiot and you feel silly, but you laugh uncontrollably. And if you are with anyone else, they laugh at you too. And I think do more things like that make you feel silly. I think we all can get a bit serious sometimes, and
I agree.
Just get out in nature. Do be an idiot. Make people laugh. It's fun.
I realized the other day that obviously I'm doing a quite good job at that, when my teenagers were telling me to stop being so daft because I was embarrassing them. And I was thinking, yes, I'm obviously, you know, because that's my job, isn't it, as a parent, to embarrass my teenagers. I can't even remember what I was doing. I mean, the funny thing is, I didn't even think I was being that embarrassing. And I was like, oh, okay, I haven't even got started yet.
But that's good, because you don't care.
Well, I think I've been too sick. I know what being really serious is like, and I think I've really regressed. I mean, here I am with my dungarees on, and if I had if my hair was in bunches instead of in a ponytail, I know people are listening on the podcast and not watching the video, this is going to mean nothing to you, but you know, I had my bunches in the other day with my dungarees on, and I just looked at myself in the mirror and thought, this is full regression back to toddler me, and having a great time.
That's really interesting, actually. That's happened in my life. I was way too serious when I was younger, and now I try and do everything that is the opposite to that. I don't want to be serious and a real adult, and you know, life is like you said, life is about having fun and having joy in our lives. And I think maybe that's where we can tail off when life gets too serious, and we let it, and we don't put a halt on things and go, actually, I'm not feeling very happy. I'm not feeling very inspired. And then we don't do anything about it. I think catch yourself at that moment when I haven't been silly in a
Yeah.
whole month. Get out, go
Exactly.
roll down the hill.
Exactly. Go and have some joy,
Yeah.
because that's what we're here for. Thank you. I think we'll end it here. Yeah, again, I paid no attention to how long we've been talking, so this may well be a long episode, but it's been so wonderful having you back. Thank you for your time and your wisdom as ever. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm sure the listeners have as well.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, everyone.
Thanks.
It's been a great time.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website at www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.